most people, financial planning isn't about spreadsheets, right? Or market returns. It's really about the people you love, making sure that they are taken care of should something happen to you, expected or not. So today we're going to talk about what that looks like, right? To provide that financial protection for your family. So welcome into Nuggets of Knowledge. I'm Ben George with the father-son planning team at Prospect Wealth Advisors, Chris and Dylan Bowman. Guys, I know protection is such a big part of it. I think a lot of people just think about planning as, hey, building my wealth accumulation and investing and returns, but protection is such a big part of what you do, isn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting because, you hear the word holistic, wealth management. We're a holistic firm. There's some guts to that, and that's that it goes beyond just buying and selling stock and asset allocation. There's a lot more deeper foundations, and some of those things we're going to talk about today. And life insurance is certainly one of those. And, most people think of life insurance as something that happens in death only. And the preparation, being a leader in your family, it's about being responsible, about smart planning, and about taking advantage of the gimmies in life. And I actually think life insurance is one of those gimmies. That God forbid something happened to me that my family's taken care of, or my wife could continue. If, certainly while we were younger, my wife could continue to take care of the children and pay for college. And you can do a lot of those things, with life insurance if you do it early enough where it's, inexpensive, or a lot more inexpensive when you're younger. And then beyond that, it's it could be for businesses, setting up key man insurance. And there's so many more levels to life insurance, but it all revolves around being responsible, creating time for your family in a catastrophic situation, and adding stability to their life.
That's a great point about the life insurance being gimmies. A lot of these strategies have many different uses. Life insurance policies, depending on your situation and which policy, but you can take tax-free loans from your policies, right? We have clients who start life insurance policies for their young grandkids, and some people think that might be morbid. Well, by the time those kids reach, 50, 60, 70 years old, the amount of money they have available to them is phenomenal, right? And them having the ability to take, tax-free loans from that money can be life-changing.
Life insurance can serve a lot of purpose. That's a great point, Dylan, and he's speaking to a couple clients that set up policies for their children, not for, God forbid, something happened to them in death, but creating an income stream for them later on in life. We've had professional athletes, set up policies for when their career ends, that they can load up the policies while they're making a lot of money, but have some tax-free income later on in life. So it serves a lot of purposes. It's all about being responsible and adding stability to lives.
Yeah, and a good place to start this conversation when you talk about protection is, it's one of the most direct forms of protection and one of the more common. So let's talk next about beneficiary designations, because I think people, they check their boxes as they're setting up new accounts, or, they're filling out forms, but oftentimes they'll never circle back to them, right? This doesn't seem like a big deal, but why is it so important to make sure these are updated year after year?
Yeah, it's a simple detail that has, enormous consequences if you don't do it. It should be done, as soon as you set up your account. You can defer it, but it's really easy to do. Beneficiary designations supersede a will. So, if anything happens, or if you never did a will, or you don't have your estate plan in place, at least make sure that you have some beneficiaries on your accounts. So, whoever your kids, your grandkids, anybody, if God forbid anything happens to you, they're not fighting through the courts and probate trying to get access to this money that you meant to leave them from the beginning.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Dylan. And a lot of people, some people don't have an estate plan. I think everybody should have an estate plan. I'm passionate about it because my father died in a motorcycle accident. I've mentioned it before, and when he was 54 years old. And we spent an enormous time in the probate courts. So either you have a trust, you have a will, or you don't have anything at all, or you just have beneficiaries. And so making sure that those beneficiary designations match whatever it is in your estate plan. and you don't have something different. So it's all really important. It's something that we concentrate on and make sure that our clients are up to date with those things. We do it on an annual basis. Even the stuff that's outside of us, we actually bring it to their attention. Are they, do they have your trust as the beneficiary, or however, we want that to be? We're updating that on an annual basis for sure.
Yeah. So it might seem like something you would just check on after, major life events. And that's obviously the case, but something you also want to review on a consistent basis as well. So let's shift to estate documents.
This is something, again, I just spoke about that I'm passionate about. And the reason I'm passionate about it is my father was a corporate executive at a very, very high level, one of the biggest conglomerates in the world. And you'd think that he had everything in place. And while he was exceptionally good at his job and a great father and all those wonderful things, it's one thing that he didn't have in place. And we spent, 3.5 years in the probate courts getting his assets through probate and closing his estate. So everybody really should have an estate plan, no matter what. That includes your powers of attorney while you're living, who can step in and manage your financial affairs and healthcare decisions, and those should be in place. And then deciding whether a will or a trust is in place. We utilize 2 exceptionally good attorneys, estate planning attorneys, but we also have a third choice, which is we utilize a company called wealth.com that is an exceptional platform for people to actually develop their own estate plans, and we can help them through that process through wealth.com. And they do an amazing job. And through wealth.com, they actually own a portal to their own documents. So the portal was designed for them to do it themselves, for them to update themselves. And so I think it's an exceptional way for people to understand the documents, put together, a great estate plan. And if they don't want to do that, we have 2 fabulous attorneys that can help them as well.
Yeah, it's one of the areas that, technology has really helped out in our industry, right? Having access to your own portal, being able to update and have access to your documents at any time. There's countless stories we have of clients or their kids or their grandkids who can't find the trust, or, lost it, or God forbid it, gets ruined in a flood or a fire. Having access to that at all times, that's your legacy plan, that's an important document. So you want to keep that, have control of it, have access to it. So, we make it pretty much a requirement that all of our clients have some sort of legacy plan in place.
Yeah, good stuff. What about longevity? I know this is a great thing that we're living longer and our retirements are longer, but I know in order to protect yourself, you have to be thinking about longevity and working through this within your plan, correct?
Absolutely. And I laugh at that, what you said. The people are living longer, and I laugh because it's like, the positives are people living longer, the negatives are people living longer. And I say that because as you live longer, your money needs to last you longer, right? And so, we talk about this a lot, having a sustainable withdrawal rate. What can I pull out of my assets comfortably and make sure that we have enough money to last us the rest of their life? So putting together a plan that takes that into consideration, what they're spending, what their expenses are, what income they have coming in, how their money will last them through their life, is really, I think, for everybody right now, every financial planner, that's a big deal to take a look at. People are living longer, which is wonderful. In fact, my mom is 84 years old and couldn't be more overjoyed that she's full of life. And at 84 years old, I hope she has another, 20 years left.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, right? The longer you live, the more money you have to make.
Our job is like I often, compare it to like a Sherpa, or financial Sherpa. Our job is to help clients up the mountain during their accumulation phase. But believe it or not, the more important one is help them down the mountain during the distribution phase. And, if you think of mountaineering, more people die on the way down the mountain than on the way up the mountain. And so I think that's rings true for us too, and the responsibility we have to help our clients down the mountain safely. And that's certainly fulfilling.
Yeah, that's a great analogy, and one that's so accurate, right? It is oftentimes much harder going down than it is going up. So the financial Sherpa, that's what I'll start calling you there.
Yeah.
But let's wrap it up with having the importance of having a good advising team, right? It's kind of where this conversation kind of all leads to, is because you want to have someone that you can trust, but also like during these times, right, when you need that protection, but also you want to have somebody that is helping you build that plan that builds in these protections along the way.
Yeah, trust is the biggest thing, right? I mean, you're never gonna invest or build a relationship with someone that you can't trust. Estate planning specifically, it's interesting because, we don't always meet all of our clients' kids or grandkids, but, God forbid when something happens, them being able to reach out to us, even though to them we're complete strangers, and to us, they're complete strangers we've never met, but we're able to instantly build that rapport and that relationship with them because we've helped their family. Even the clients, when something happens, we're still helping their family, after they're gone. And that's a huge thing, being able to trust somebody and leave your assets in the hands of somebody who's going to help you and help your family no matter what happens.
Our business and what we do transcends, again, just making people money or looking to make people money or help them in that regard. We're often considered like, a top, advisor to the family, a confidant to the family. We're usually one of the first people that are called, God forbid something happens. And, one of the things that we really pride ourselves in doing is try to, understand and learn and meet the family members so that, God forbid something happens, then they could call us and we send our business cards to them and we speak to them. And there's a couple examples. I don't think, and this could be another show, I don't think people understand how often these elderly people are at prey, to things happening. We have, certainly a couple. One got taken advantage by a car dealership and we, called the car dealership and got money back. There's just things that you do when you have a relationship with somebody that you don't get paid for, but you want to help them and make sure they're okay. So we can save that for another show. But I think what Dylan said, trust is such a big part of of what we do. Whenever you're handing somebody's money, I think that's probably first and foremost.
Yeah, and if you want to learn more about the team, you can always go to prospectwealthadvisors.com. Everything's in the show description too to make it easy for you. But guys, as we kind of close this out, as we talk about protections, that financial evaluation, that financial checkup that you offer anyone to connect with you guys, do you go through the protections in that conversation as well?
We go through everything. I mean, the first couple calls that we do, we really dig pretty deep into, their lives, and we want to know everything. We want to know income and where it's coming from. We want to know, what their spending habits are. We want to know any big purchases that are coming on the horizon. Certainly want to know any medical things that are going on with them. And that's not just to pry. It's so that we understand kind of what may present itself in the years to come and how we can stay ahead of that. That's why, reviews that we do are really important to keep us updated on all that. So, the first part of the foundational thing is just really the more you give us, the more we can give back and put together, a plan that we think is pretty solid.
Yep. The more information that we have, the better the plan that we can build, the more accurate it's going to be and the more sense it's going to make because, we have a full picture. It's really hard to put a plan together when you only have part of the picture. So, with those first couple meetings, we spend a lot of time getting to know you, getting to know your situation, your family, your goals, your dreams, everything that, supersedes even just the finances. We need to know about you as a person, your family, your relationships, that all matters. When it comes to finance, it's not all numbers.
And risk management is, super important. What are you willing to risk on your money? I mean, we want to know what kind of investor, what's your pain points? What type of risk can you take without, worrying too much? I mean, it's a different, literally every single solitary plan is different. Everything is custom to your individual situation. So anyway.
Now, I think it's important to kind of close out with, and what I wanted to kind of stress, right? Take advantage of that free evaluation, see where you stand, and start having these conversations because they're so important to protect those things. Should life throw us curveballs, we know that's always going to be the case. So,
nothing bad can happen out of that.
Yeah, hit subscribe as well. We appreciate that support. We'll have another episode of Nuggets of Knowledge coming soon. Guys, take care.
Thanks, Ben.
Appreciate it, Ben.
The information presented in this show is for educational purposes only and should not be construed as a recommendation or advice specific to your situation. Prospect Wealth Advisors help clients prepare for retirement using various insurance and investment products and strategies. Investment advisory services are offered through Creative One Wealth LLC, a registered investment advisor. Creative One Wealth LLC and Prospect Wealth Advisors are unaffiliated entities. We are not affiliated with any government agency and do not provide tax or legal advice. Tax and legal services are offered through our network of qualified tax and legal professionals. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal. No investment strategy can ensure profit or guarantee against losses. Insurance product guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing company. Investment advisory services are provided in accordance with the fiduciary duty of care and loyalty that includes putting your interest first and disclosing conflicts. Insurance services have a best interest standard, which requires recommendations to be in your best interest. Advisors may receive commission for the sale of insurance and annuity products.